Entrepreneurial Edge is brought to you by Business Banking from FNB, because small ideas can lead to big business. FNB, how can we help you?
Welcome back to the Entrepreneurial Edge. I'm Chris Bishop. Is there a specific entrepreneur you would like us to feature on this show? Let us know by sending us a tweet or an email. Now, still in the studio with me, I have Ndaba Ntsele, the CEO and co-founder of Pamodzi Investment Holdings, which of course is a multi-million-dollar concern now. It's listed on the stock exchange, but you started it way back in 1982.
Yeah, and so from Pamodzi, we started in 1979. There were three of us during apartheid, and Ngeti, Solly, and myself in the construction. We're building houses. In 1982, 83, there was a big project, and that's where I started getting a lot of money. It was a development by the Urban Foundation when they said blacks can have 99 lease. So myself and my partners, we started Pamodzi Homes. It was Pamodzi Homes at the time. We bought service land in Prochi North, and we built a show house, and we built the houses. And somewhere in 84, there was an opportunity of building a whole township, 3,500 houses in Dobsonville Extension. I needed to have 6.5 million to participate in that consortium, which was full of white construction companies, your Shachat Homes, you name that. And our balance sheet, the three of us, was maybe about 20,000. But then I was brave enough to go to I knew I was going to hit it from the top here, because if I went to my branch manager at the bank, I was not going to get it. So I found a way of meeting Mr. Chris Paul from Barclays Bank that time. So I went to Chris with my partners, and I said to Chris, there's an opportunity, I need 6.5 million, and there were timelines for me to get that money. And then Chris asked me my brief history. I told him, and he said, are you going to bring my money back? And are you going to buy the Mercedes-Benz with my money? And we said, no, we've got the Mercedes-Benz already, which we had, 380 is top of the range. So he laughed, and then he gave me 6.5 million during that time. And after 2 weeks thereafter, there was an opportunity to build a big college called Grace College in Vleerhof. I needed to have 4.5 million. That was by the Anglo-American Chairman's Fund. And I said to myself, I'm going for it. But I didn't go to Chris. I went to Standard Bank. And then I told Standard Bank I owe Barclays 6.5 already. I'm asking for 4.5. It was less that I was owing that side.
So did Chris help you out a second time?
No, not Standard Bank helped me. So I took money from Barclays and also Standard Bank. So I had 10 bars to play with.
Well, it's nice to know there's another decent man on the earth called Chris, but those days it must have been very, very difficult for you. I mean, that was unheard of in apartheid days. A young black man like yourself getting so much money from the banks. It
was tough because Chris took us to a guy called Eddie Johnston, who was in small business SMMEs division. When we arrived there, he said to us, how do you get this money? Even whites can't get this money with this balance sheet. But we had it. I mean, and then he was supervising us, and we had to get a chartered accountant. And I employed the first white man during apartheid. John Kazakaz was a student from Wits, was a chartered accountant, because Chris Paul said you must always have a CA on your side. So first white man employed by us. And also Bulldoze got offices at the Carlton Center. Those days, blacks were not allowed to have offices in CPT unless you're a lawyer, must be next to a court, or a doctor next to a station. So I Bulldoze all the way. I had the offices in the CPT. I borrowed a lot of money, and I had a team. And I went to, and I was not a construction man. I went to hunt expertise from the big guys, LTA, I look at their formats and all that, assemble them, and we were building a lot of houses and schools.
Why do you think you got the money and so many didn't those days? Do you think it's because you dared to do it?
It's a will to win. It's a dream and fulfilling the dream. When I was told that in order to participate in this project, it was Justice Steyn. We invited him in my house in Pimville. He said, Ndaba, there's an opportunity, but you need to have 6.5 million. That didn't scare me. I thought I've got to find it somewhere. And I ignored my balance sheet. And I wanted to participate in this thing, and I did find the money. As I said earlier on, it was not only 6.5, it was 4. I was not scared that I'm owing this bank 6.5. I knew I'm not going to get it from the same bank, so I went to another bank. And guess what? I've got it.
How did you feel at that time, and what was the reaction of the people that you grew up with?
At that time, I mean, I was married, I was having a nice home, and I was growing in stature, and I became a treasurer of Soweto Pillars Association, and people were starting to admire what I'm doing, getting involved on par with the likes of Stocks and Stocks in development, and it was exciting times, and it was the problem that I experienced is that after Chris left the bank, the guys that remained there, they didn't want to fund me in other big projects. So then you feel that you cannot do what you did with Chris. It is about people, irrespective of the good track record. Then I struggled. But at that time, I had a good balance sheet, so we could build our own houses in Mamelodi Gardens. We're part of that thing and sell them because the balance sheet and the cash flow was good. And we moved right up to the 80s, 88, 89. Then there was a bond boycott. The company was huge at that time, and at that time I achieved my first goal of being a millionaire with a balance sheet at that time. I've achieved the goal, I was living well, and we're educating kids at varsities to become building scientists. And the first girl at Technicon, Tlanta Ndovela, we're educating her, and another guy called Wazi Sitole at VETS. We're doing a lot of good things because we had cash flow. But then we faced bond boycott, so the bank stopped to borrow people money.
Okay.
With a big balance sheet, but we didn't have cash flow.
You've come a long, long way since then, and now you're investing in many, many mining projects across South Africa here.
Yeah, I've been diversified. I mean, just after when we had that hiccup, and immediately I went to America, and I solicited to get Nike in the country. So I brought Nike back in South Africa, 1991, with partners Soli and Sam Nunyane. And is when I left construction after building a school. Now, because apartheid was gone, I moved beyond the South African borders. I went to America and got a license. And as you know, Nike is a top brand. So I grew it from 0 to #1 in Southern Africa. The license was in Southern Africa, manufactured. I did what we call a WEE, White Economical Empowerment, sponsored the Springboks when they were all white except with one guy, sponsored the Gauteng Lions with Nike, also sponsored the Natal cricket team. And then at that time, we were starting to diversify, getting into different business. 95, then we started Pamodzi Investment Holdings. I put the team together.
And now you're into coal and you're into a lot of mining.
But the biggest thing that we did, I mean, it was the biggest management leverage buyout in the country was by us. Now, listen to this. Food Corp, we're supposed to buy a management buyout of Food Corp. So I went to ABSA, and this bank manager at ABSA, investment banker, he was saying there's a big deal in the marketplace and nobody can touch it. It's $1.8 billion. It will be a management leverage buyout. And I said, no, I can raise that money. And this guy thought I'm crazy. Looking at this suntan skin, says, where do you come from? So I told him the history. Then I said, let me get involved. So I spoke to management, and I find the other partners were there, were ethos, but I wanted to have a controlling stake. I ran the market in South Africa. I didn't get the money. When I was at Nike, at one time I couldn't get money here. I flew overseas. Citibank gave me the money to grow Nike. So even here, went to ABN AMRO, Holland. We got big sum of money for the controlling stake of Food Corp. So that was a big, then Pamodzi was in the map, and with different other, because companies in the IT space, but it was the biggest MBO, black controlled, wonderful, and we also did the secondary buyout, and then we also got into a mining business.
But you did have a bit of a hiccup with your mining business. I mean, Pamodzi Gold, which sadly was liquidated.
Yes. Pamodzi Gold, the timing was perfect. The rand was strong, and the gold was low at about $500, $600 an ounce. So the big boys couldn't mine profitably. So I took advantage and got those mines without paying a cent. I gave them option when I'm listing. So I got the East Rand mine, I got the West Rand, I got Free State from the Canadians, and because the big boys couldn't mine. And then my duty was to recapitalize them because they get dilapidated when they don't look after. And then the amount of money that we spent, I mean, as Pamodzi, I think was 30 million. But all those assets, I got it. And the big boys, I said, when I list, you must have share options. And they gave me these mines. I raised the first 200 million from the ITC. The other 200 million, it was a challenge. I went the whole world to get it. And until, of course, the Chinese Development Bank came on board to assist me. But at that time, the liquidators were after us, and I was liquidated, and I got the money just after the final liquidation, the 200 million rands. They've had 600 million rands from the Chinese, but it was too late.
Shame. Well, it's one of the great problems that you've had, but you've had many more successes on top of that. Who are the entrepreneurs that you look up to? Who would you inspires you? Look,
I grew up in Orlando West, and Orlando West and Dube area, we had a lot of entrepreneurs. Maponya is number one. Where I went to crash, it's Maponya, it was next to Maponya's shop. So I grew up looking at Maponya, I grew up looking at people like Jabu Vilagazi, Reggie Tlongwane. Those guys had shops and they were selling clothing. So in my life, and they were, of course, driving fancy cars. I mean, Maponya had nice BMWs, and the wife, he would buy a 7 for himself. And he was dressing well. Of course, their lifestyle was good. His house was good. So is Jabu, the late Jabu Vilagaz. So is Reggie Tlongwane. So those are my heroes in that environment when I grew up. I could see them, and you say to yourself, you want to be like these people. And of course, Maponya keep on growing and growing and growing. He never stopped. And these other guys, I mean, Reggie Tlongwane, he did the Pep store. I mean, he came with Christo Viso in my offices. I was young. They said, hey, we're developing Pep stores in the township. And this is during apartheid. And when I was in construction, they said apartheid is going to end. So let's develop this company and then we'll swap the shares into a Pep group after some time. So local heroes meant a lot to me at that time. And
well, thank you very much, Ndaba Ntsele, the co-founder of Pamodzi Investment Holdings, for sharing your story and insight with us. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for. That's it for this week's Entrepreneurial Edge. We'll see you again next time. Until then, from me, Chris Bishop, it's goodbye.